Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Nice. Yeah, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from, who you are. Say hello. We'll be excited to jump into some of these websites today and talk a little bit about what you guys have learned and how we can help share a little bit more knowledge, especially as it relates to kind of what not to do in the world of web design. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
A lot of people joining in from different parts of the world.
Yeah, what's kind of the vibe then? Can you give me a like as people join real quick? Can you give me just a rundown of like how have people been taking it? What's the vibe of the course been like? Just give
Yeah,
me a
so I would say the people have been actually quite punctual. We Most of the people join in within 2 minutes of the start of the session. People join in from different time zones. The major use case that I was also telling earlier to McGuire was people join in from New Zealand at 5 a.m. in the morning as of now.
Wow.
And this is here in India, it is 9:30, 11 p.m. in Indonesia. So people join in at different odd times. And we have been having fun sessions, live interactive demos, etc. And excited for the teardown today.
Nice. Great. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping in here too. So lead the way.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get started then. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ADPList and Webflow original series. So we have concluded the phase two in the last session with Melissa. And today we are going to start with phase three of the series, where we dissect different Webflow websites out there, as well as some of your own cases. And while we do this, please make note that this is a constructive criticism, and these are learnings that we're going to take out from the existing creations, right? At no point in time the intention would be to demean anyone, any existing creation, or any of the case submissions, because we are all here for learning. So for today's session, we have Raymmar with us, who will be sharing the common mistakes to avoid while creating a Webflow masterpiece. Raymmar, if you would know, is the lead organizer behind Webflow community events such as CloneComp, a Webflow hackathon, Global Open House, a community-led global meetup, and State of Flow, a digital creators retreat. Over to Raymmar, and here we go.
Yeah. Hey everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to kind of talk about a few things, principles of web design. I actually want to kind of start out, if we can, with like a little funny thing that happened today. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I'm going to go ahead and share this. Um, and this guy, Daryl Ginn on Twitter, and this is exactly about what not to do with your websites, is making a joke about if Webflow developers made Twitter. And this is kind of, it's a funny joke, but we've all seen websites that look and feel like this. And there's lots of trends in this world. And so we won't dive too much into accessibility or any of that, but we can obviously see there's there's some misconceptions and perceptions about what a Webflow developer is, and just because we can doesn't mean we should kind of over animate anything. And so I wanted to show you another example here. I don't know if anybody has shown you this. This is a guy who actually sells cars online, and it's funny because this site is actually quite effective just because it's so different, but this is not typically a good approach to web design, right? And so this is not something that you would want to kind of mimic in a traditional way, even though this has gone viral. And so it's interesting to think about when you're building websites, there's kind of a balance you have to find between um, what you want to do creatively, what the client will let you do, and then what your end users ideally are trying to do with the website or through the website. And so that always goes back to the first principle as you're thinking about any website is just kind of like, what's the conversion purpose? Is the website meant to be a piece of art? Is it meant to be a viral joke, a meme, kind of like this site? Or is it actually meant to convey a message, right? Is it supposed to speak to a specific audience? And that's the biggest thing, that shapes everything on the web, right? Is who are you speaking to? What is it specifically that you're trying to convey to them? So what's the message you're trying to say? And the website is your best tool for doing that, right? And so when you do things like this here, I mean, and these are like wild, over the top, obviously examples here, But these are not great ways to kind of set that first impression with your website visitors. And there's other examples too here. These are obviously two of the craziest examples I could kind of find on the web of things not to do. But even something like this, let me grab this site and let me put this up here. Let me pull this one up, Zara. Now, this looks, beautiful here, but nav is kind of hidden over in this top left corner. I don't really know. This is a big nav. It took me a while of looking for this site to kind of find this. We kind of expect the traditional elements to be here, and they are here, but they're also over here on the bottom right. And I'm not sure this is an ideal way to handle navigation if your goal is to, create an effective e-commerce site. When we go to something like Amazon, and compare the difference of the top site where people go and buy things, look at the difference in the clarity here. And I'm not signed in, and this is a different computer than I typically use, so it's not customized for me, but typically this would be customized for me. And so as we look at the difference, maybe this is trying to make a statement here because it's showing you the art and it wants you to dig in. And so that goes again to who are you trying to message, right? So as you're thinking about your website, as we're tearing these things down, there's never really like a wrong way to do any of this. There's just, ways that fit the need or don't fit the need. For this company, it may be more important for them to just make an example here of a beautiful, stunning image than for somebody to be able to navigate. But I'm literally clicking on this site right now and I'm trying to figure out, like, do I buy this stuff? Okay, there it is. Now I have to click in. So it wasn't immediately obvious as I navigate this site where, if I want to interact with this product, do I do it? I can see that my finger can click here, but I don't know. Is this a piece of art, or was the purpose of this website to sell, products? Another thing you can do, and honestly, if we go back to this Amazon site, there's some nice visual hierarchy here, right? So if we go, obviously, we're setting the tone. This is what they want me looking at. I should log in here, but I won't. So this is what they want me looking at versus a visual hierarchy here. Whereas if we go to something like Wayfair, let's try this one here. Oh, they do a good job of it here. Let's see. All right, Wayfair's a big site. Here we've got, again, kind of a little bit of visual hierarchy, but not a lot, right? All these things kind of fight for my attention. And this is different on an e-commerce site, right? So they're trying to like get you to dive into a category here. And so again, maybe this fits their needs. Maybe they have some data that shows that this fits their needs. But maybe if this is a site that's intended to sell one specific thing, right, your specific product, this is not an ideal landing page, right? If you're trying to convey one singular message here, you're going to want something that's more like a traditional landing page from a SaaS company rather than something, that's got a million different options for the user, right? And so you just have to think. I guess there's not a real good way of knowing. I have some of your sites, and so what I was thinking is maybe we could go through some of these sites instead of me pulling up like a ton of different websites from the internet. I thought maybe we could go through some of these, and maybe you can take some of the feedback and update these as you go through. And so let's just do some live teardowns here of the site. No hay cama para tanta gente. Raymmar, hello. Gran Combo de Puerto Rico. Hello, Juan. Leave your comments. I'm going to try to follow some of these as we go. We'll go through all the tabs shortly. Yeah, we're going to go through, let's see. Zara works on mobile so good, Ignacio is saying here. So that's another thing to think about, is like, just because I'm looking at the Zara website on desktop here, maybe it's like maybe that swipe interaction was very TikTok like. It's like Instagram stories, and maybe that's a beautiful experience on mobile, and nobody goes to their desktop site. So that's a good point here. That again, the only wrong thing is on a website is how does it align to the goal of the website, right? If the goal of the website is to just kind of be this beautiful thing and interact beautifully on mobile, okay, it's going to be different on a desktop experience than it will be on a mobile experience, and you're going to make completely different decisions about how you put that website together when you're making those. The technology might even be different because you might want things that are mobile forward, on a tech stack, and so maybe you're not doing that in a traditional Webflow site, or you need to add a different some kind of different code base to be able to achieve some of those functionalities. So again, don't ever think like just because something doesn't look traditional that it's wrong. all it means is like maybe it's not aesthetically pleasing to you, or it doesn't align with what you think a good website is. But really, that just comes down to goals. As we saw here, this Ling site is not ideal. Like if you looked at this from any kind of web development standard, nobody would say this is a great web design site. But this guy sells a heck ton of cars just because of the viral function of it. And in some cultures, I think like this stuff kind of hits more than others. So culturally, that can also make a difference. Okay, so let's jump into some of these like websites here, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what not to do. And these could be technical issues, this could be design issues, but right here, obviously, we have a little bit of overlap. That's not ideal. So as we're let's see, how are these sites selected? These sites were just submitted in as a part of a spreadsheet here. So we're just going to run through a bunch of websites that have kind of been submitted by folks in the course here, and try to do a little bit of kind of constructive criticism on some of these. One thing to consider is maybe this section could be centered here. And so again, we kind of have like an unfinished product, it feels like. I like the deep logo. And so we've got a little bit of branding happening here. You might try to figure out how to bring that again into this section here. If, and maybe try to balance out how this is set up. It could be cool if this water was moving, and so I don't see anything that kind of sucks me into this. There's no, all these stories are kind of, the same size. So maybe you could feature one of these, bigger 2/3 here. Just kind of give me a little bit of visual hierarchy to the page, and then make sure you're spacing. That like right here we don't have common spacing at the top, so you might want to figure out how to kind of just even out some of the spacing there on that deep mag site. We're going to jump into this now. Let's see, Newthy, I think is what it's called here. So we can see that we have, and maybe if we go to a different, let me shrink my screen a little bit and see what happens here. So much stuff open on my screen. Let's close all this stuff. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so this one's got some issues with responsiveness. This is a big issue right now because people are designing for mobile first or desktop first, or they want to like Webflow is really good at responsiveness, but you still have to kind of know what you're doing here, and you need to make sure that that it fills out the whole screen, because you never know what screen size somebody's going to be on. And so you might need to check max width here. Maybe you've got some, max width, or maybe you've got a container that's constraining the proportions here. But these are things you see on, on the web as you explore. We've got some overlapping images here, and we can see maybe how that adjusts as you go. And so the responsive nature of these websites, and kind of thinking about how do they flow on different screen size. So it looks like we've got something that's absolute positioned or fixed there. And so part of it's responding behind and part of it isn't. So those are kind of no-nos in the world of web design. And this could just be a technical limitation where you're just learning how to do some of this stuff, and maybe you have some positioning constraints. But here again, we have the same kind of issue where you're kind of changing the viewport. There's some things that are fixed and some things that are kind of relative there. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure how that's working. Anyway, so yeah, you kind of want to make sure that you're building responsively. So you want to test your screen sizes. That's one thing that happens all the time, and not just different screen sizes, but different browsers, right? So you want to test inside of Firefox and Safari. Safari, I know, can be a tricky one sometimes inside of Webflow, and so this is where a lot of times you might take shortcuts. Maybe you're treating your divs like layers as you're learning Webflow, but taking a good time to understand CSS positioning and understanding why alignment issues take place. There's some CSS games you can go and play. There's a lot of training in Webflow University, but you really want to be comfortable with all of the CSS positioning, how things work relative to one another, what happens when you take things out of their random flow by changing their alignment, etc. So, and I think that's what's kind of the main culprit here. I think you could probably fix this pretty quickly with just a few of those, just by tweaking a few of the classes. So, what about the contrast on the site? Sure, we could go into. There's a ton of like, I like the images here, so the images are beautiful. Let's just start with that. But yeah, the contrast is a little hard here, and we're not going to go too deep into like accessibility stuff. That's a whole different layer. But for sure, thinking about the contrast, thinking about even I see some subtle hover interactions, but not on all of them, or they're a little kind of inconsistent here. So just before I would add any flair on this, I would think about how do we kind of clean it up, make it a little more um, I think just balanced as a general design. Let's see, where did the Eric? What's up? Hey, Eric. Does Webflow have analytics for what's the question? Webflow have analytics for how much your views come from web versus mobile. Uh, You don't, not natively, but you can put something on there, like Eric's saying, you could put like Google Analytics or some kind of there's like no code lytics. There's a couple different types of analytics you can do, and it'll tell you things like that, how much time people are spending on a page. It'll tell you things like which pages they enter your site on, which pages they exit your site on, what calls to action. If you set it up, you can set it to track like what links they click, and um, that's the now you're getting into kind of digital marketing stuff. But those are all things you want to pay attention to as you build these sites out, because that's what's going to give you the data. You're never going to know whether you're hitting the goals. I told you at the beginning that most of whether a website is good is whether or not it hits its goals, and you don't know that unless you're tracking it. So that's a good question, because you do need to be paying attention to some of that. Let's see. There's a YouTube link out talking about connecting Google Analytics to Webflow. Yeah, there you go. Where do we find these CSS games? Any recos? Yeah, there was one that Webflow did. Let's see if we can find it right now, and I can share it in the link. Webflow CSS game. Webflow Flexbox game. Shall we play? Opening learning with Flexbox in Webflow. Oh, so this is going to take me to Webflow. Let me see if I can go back to that link and just grab this link. Let me copy link address, and hello, will it let me paste it? Let's see if that works. Yeah, check that out. That I'm not logged into Webflow here. Let me see if it'll actually let me jump into this, and I can kind of show y'all just a real quick. Is it going to try to log me in? Yeah, so this is a real cool game because you can go through and it's got items, and you then come and change the classes to match the items to fit the to make it fit here. Oops. So you just come and adjust the classes, you grab the items, and you can, make the changes to get everything to kind of match up. And I don't know if I know anything about this right now because I haven't played this in a minute, but you can go through and with enough time, you can kind of figure out all of the different functions to basically get these things to align. And this is important to know because these are all of the types of setups you might want to create, right? So like this looks like it's just round sections, but what it's showing you here is maybe a column on the left, a center column in the middle that you might want your content to fix, and then this guy on the right here. And so let's see if we can figure this one out. Let's see. Boop. We might want to do that. We might want to do this one to stretch, and there we go. Right. And so solving these is a good way to kind of let's see if we can do this one too. I think that one stretches. This one also. Let's see, sizing presets. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It talked about size of presets. Let's see. Hint the green circle should have a width of 200. So width 200. Boop. There we go. Right. And so you can kind of go, and they do get more challenging as you go because you have to flip order and reverse things. And so this is a great way. I remember when I was first learning Webflow, this was very some of them are very easy. It gets more challenging as you go. So I think like some of these early ones are real simple. You just kind of distribute all the items, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's there. You go, distribute items. So it's you're just kind of showing you the different methods to justify and align items inside of Flex. And this is very valuable to know because what happens is, and if we go back to this site, where is this site? If we go back here to where some of these sections are kind of moving when we do this, that has to do because somewhere inside of here, the properties have been set to absolute, right? So this position has been set to absolute or relative or fixed or something like that. And you're breaking the typical flow of the site. And so anytime you break the typical flow of the CSS structure, you're going to get potential things like this. Now, you may want to do this, right? There may be a reason you want to do something like this, which is to get an effect where something overlaps a section on the page. And that could be intentional in your design. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as, again, it serves the design. But if you don't, then you can end up with a site that looks or feels broken. And so again, that's a real good thing that I'm glad we stumbled into that. Okay, so love, thanks, great, great, great. It's a puzzle game. I love puzzle games. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, I'm glad we found that. I'm glad we stumbled into that. Still stuck on the last three. Brent, I don't think I ever finished them all, by the way. Webflow needs to release a cheat code. So if anybody plays this and gets all the way through, please share your winnings with us, because I don't know that I actually did the whole thing all the way through either. So, okay, turning accounts into Insta influencers. This is actually kind of nice. I will say this kind of leaves me a little weirded out. This element, so we're talking about hierarchy. We have clear hierarchy here. We have, turning accounts into influencers. So it's very clear what we're doing. We have this feed that comes through. It would be really sick if this feed actually slid through. That would not be hard to do here in Webflow. I would also kind of maybe limit, right? So this break here, the section break right at the line there. And I don't know why. That's just a kind of a design aesthetic choice here. But I kind of, something feels weird about this gap, this white gap underneath here, and the length of the phone relative to kind of what's happening. Additionally, the photo image sizes compared to the screen size, would be cool if those kind of were connected somehow. And so those are just little things that can really take a design from being something that's like, okay, this is cool, this is nice, to like, oh, this is perfect. This is like, this is it. And sometimes that little factor can be the difference in charging $500 for a website versus charging $10,000 for a website. And so I don't know how much experience you all have had thinking or even talking about, okay, what do I do with this knowledge after I learn Webflow? But that's the goal here, right? Most of you are learning how to build a website so that you can take it out into the market, and figuring out how to take the extra little time to make this a dynamic slider that slides through the phone is just like, those are the things that will take you to the next step. And I bet you could find a clonable that has most of the functionality you need. That's the place to really, dig in, is the Webflow showcase. Those clonable resources are just amazing. This is great. I like a little overlap here. Very nice. The consistency. This actually feels like a very clean, very nice website. I do see the motion. I would stay consistent with the motion. These cards came in from left to right, and I see everything else is doing kind of like this subtle fade in from the bottom. I probably would either spend some time coming up with a custom interaction for that entry, a nice little soft fade in for each one, or I would just leave it each to kind of come up independently and have them kind of follow the same flow. Because I'm going to refresh this page. And as I go down this, oh, it does. Okay, so this does go. There's a okay. All right, so we're close. That's close. A little bit of movement there. I just imagine, like, just make this a hole and let me see through it. Um, okay, so everything you see, everything's kind of coming up, coming up, coming. Ooh, and then it breaks. What, Maybe you want that. Maybe that's the intention, but something about that kind of like is a little jerky. So again, the continuity of the experience. Those are things that kind of matter as the flow. Let's go into the questions. Let's make sure we how to add the audio player or play audio on Webflow. I think that's a technical question that we're not going to get into. Maybe you can, there's other ways you can embed things. There's ways to kind of put custom HTML players into Webflow. But that's more of a technical question that I bet if you Googled on YouTube, Googled or YouTube search, that you could find. Let's see. Feel free to share your creations, other websites. Yeah, if you want, share your website here and we can pop in. This growth.webflow is actually really nice. This is just a few steps away from being a very, very nice website. As it is, it's nice and clean. I think with a couple of those critiques that we put together, this could really be taken to the top. Okay, let's look at afk-blogs.webflow.io. Kudos if it didn't come from a template. Yeah, good idea. Good shot, Daniel. Let's see. This looks awesome. Okay, I'm seeing people sharing some links. This is great. Let's do that. Let's go through this one, then I'll jump into the links. AFK, ultimate blog to workplace wellness. What I'm seeing here is the images. Okay, the images kind of look familiar, but because they're all similar sizes, I had a hard time at first kind of thinking like, now I see some of them are different, but I see they're connected, but they have different titles. And this could just be we're using placeholder content, right? But I would have just probably kind of walked away from this site, not knowing there was that much variation here. It feels very similar. So, typically in a layout like this, the news articles, if the images are going to be so big, the news should kind of like I guess fit the articles, or the images should kind of fit. Let's see, book reading for employees. They do fit. Okay, that's in the life of employees. The benefits of having a furry friend. Okay, the benefits of having a furry friend. So it is kind of the same. I'm wondering where the difference in title length came here, or if this is just text. It could just be placeholder text. Either way, the images tell the story a lot of times in experiences like this, and so that's where I'm kind of getting drawn to is these images. The images are very strong, which is great, but I don't think the text or the layout does these images justice. I think these images are kind of better than the text gives them credit, and there could be a better way to showcase these types of images in this type of site. So this is one of the things where, like, does the content kind of match the design? You know, um, just again, does it go back to the goal of the website? Let's see. I'm gonna have a hard time keeping up with the links, but let's try to find the links here. Okay, Zara, I'll help your team win customers using design, and I'll make your dreams come true. Book free discovery, see work. Okay, I like this. This feels a little open to me. I'm gonna give it a little. Let's do a little bit of this. Let's see what happens. Okay. I would look into something called fluid responsive design. It's something you can do with client first. Timothy Ricks has a method for it. It's one of those things that kind of makes the site a little more fluid as it responds. I like this. There's a very clear call to action here that's prominent. We've got consistent interactions on the site, but it feels a little open, a little unfinished. It almost feels like these could be a little tighter together. You know, these buttons kind of floating away from this sentence just makes me feel like like it's a little open. I don't know. Those could be nicer together as a unit. This circle here feels a little small, but I like a little motion. I would even put like the call to action, inside of that. Why not put the discovery call inside of this call to action here and make that big, or fill the section right here, like make it big, right? If you're gonna leave this much space here, book free discovery call, like I find a way to like put it in my face a little bit. As long as your dreams include nice copy. Okay, I like this. Okay, so as I hover, I would think about here. There's probably like a little transition you could do. These transitions are really rough. I would maybe see if we can throw a little soft transition on there and let those kind of fade in and out of each other a little smoothly, and maybe even change the color on each one with a little opacity overlay or something like that. Maybe get some overlap. I don't know. But yeah, this could be softened up just a little bit. It's a little jerky right now as this reacts. Um, okay. These interactions. I recommend staying away from these types of interactions right here. This strikes me as template stuff. Okay, I see. And you may just be exploring, right? I like the idea of exploring, but these types of interactions should serve a purpose. This is good to this type of interaction is good to use for a floating cursor or some kind of rotation or some kind of element that you want to highlight. But just for an image like that, I don't know that I would like use this type of interaction here. And then these kind of like zoom in. They feel like exactly what they are. They feel like one-click interactions, and they're very common on like older websites. Just use them kind of tastefully. I think you can really overuse some of those. And it's very common. I can see here. There's like you're just learning. I can totally tell this is a site, and this is a great way to learn. By the way, you just kind of throw a lot of stuff. Maybe I can show you. Let's do this. I want to show y'all my first Webflow site ever. Webflow.com/, because I did the same thing. So like don't think. Let's go all the way to the front. Let's go all the way to the front. All right, my first Webflow website. Let's open the live site. I did the same thing. I just started playing with like interactions, right? I was like, oh shit, look, I can move stuff. Let me put things here. I can make things sticky. I can, add color. Let's see. I can do a fade color background change. I can do a scrolling sidebar. I can do these little interactions, and okay, cool. I was like learning about how to do interactions, and okay, nice. And then another color change into here. And then, I'm just taken back to this tweet where it's like Webflow developers made Twitter, right? So you got to be careful that just because you can doesn't always mean you should. But I also like that you're just exploring here. Where's the site that we were just on? This one. I like that you're just I can tell like you're just playing with Webflow. And this is a really good thing to do. Just remember that like I can tell we're going through like this is one type of theme for a website. That could be its own style theme, right? That's this thing right here. This feels like a whole different thing. They don't feel like they're the same site. They feel like separate sites. This again, feels like, okay, was this a component from another site that you styled into this site here? Now I feel like I have a different look with this paper background texture. And so I love the exploring. I love that you've got a bunch of different chunks in here. This is what you should be doing when you're starting out and learning Webflow and really kind of like figuring out what the tool can do. But once you kind of reach that level and you get comfortable with the tool, the goal should kind of shift towards that finesse and refinement. Because I see again, like this is one type of style here, and when I get to the bottom of the site, it's not the same type of style. Now I'm losing that like nice, clean, modern, fresh touch up here. Now it's getting a little more like run on landing page kind of thing. Same thing here. Now am I like on some SaaS site? Am I on a like some product website? And then here it's like, oh, now I feel like I'm on a stationary website or something like that. So just kind of thinking about a little cohesion as you go through is a big thing to think about. Okay, don't have look we can make. All right, let's see. Portfolio go to take. Yeah, that's right. And I hope please don't take it personal. I'm not trying to tear anyone down here. This is all in the spirit of just trying to help you guys hit that next level. So let's look at this next one here. Tech Wave. Importance of explainable AI and trust and machine learning. Great. Okay. All right. All right. Something about just initial thoughts, something about this interaction and this chunky shadow here, uh, and these colors that don't really align with this story. Um, okay, nice images. Yeah, at least that they're consistent. I like that they're consistent here. Something about these colors feels like a little more fresh, a little less techy, a little less. I kind of see these colors on like a little boutique restaurant site or a little boutique e-commerce store. When I see tech, I'm thinking more of these colors, these darker bluey, and so seeing those two kind of next to each other kind of makes me feel like it's not really uniting the story here. So I would think about my color scheme and I would think about how could I make this image more part of this page? You're in Webflow here. You don't have to be limited to just side by side stacking of stuff here. Like find a way to throw this image as the full background or as the half a background here, or kind of get like I would push this a little bit more and explore how can you do a little bit, other than just a 2-column look here. Even all the way through, like this is nice, like this stands out. I don't know that this goes with the AI and the tech and the different things, but this stands out. I like this. Um, Even here, see, I have an interaction that doesn't match the interactions before. So if you're going to do this like hover here, all your interactions should kind of match that type of thing. So consistency, again, that's the biggest thing. Once you get to a certain level of like, hey, I can just do some stuff in Webflow, the next thing is just refinement and consistency. And I bet that's what we're going to see as just kind of a trend here. I'm going to keep grabbing these sites. You guys just keep sending them in. I'm going to keep grabbing them. I'll try to keep tracking the comments. The problem is the comments are kind of scrolling a little weird. So, okay. Happy to meet you. Former smart city entrepreneur, 3 years project management experience. Great. Okay. Uh, Again, we get into some hierarchy issues here where I don't know which one of these you want me to read first. I'm obviously going to read the top one. That's what I defaulted to. But now I don't know. Is it driving by? Okay. Um, it might be cool to just see these chunks broken up like in different ways. So you could even just get rid of the gradient here and leave this, black on white, white on white text on black background, and it might look nice. Um, and then there's an instant clash for me. The thing that really got me is like the color scheme here. So we've got this like bright yellow, and maybe that's the other end of your gradient here, but I don't see it enough. And then all of a sudden we go to white. Like I think maybe these icons should be either your purple or your pink color, or the yellow, whatever on the black background, kind of bring those colors back in. You've also got rounded corners here and square corners here. And so those kind of things instantly create like visual clash. It happens again up here. So squares up here, then you go round, and then we go square again. And here the text is white, here the text is purple, here we've got yellow. Maybe those are the same purple, but I'm not sure. So those kind of things, again, going back to the consistency of like careful with multiple colors. This looks like something I might have seen on a website in the like late 90s, and that's okay if you're going for that aesthetic. But I'm not sure that's a purposeful aesthetic attempt here. And so again, we've got round with different round with straight line with square stuff. This button looks taller than these buttons. So again, going back to consistency. Every like I think that's going to probably be the key takeaway here is just thinking about how can you unify the site as you're going through, right? Once you're done with the basic design, once you get a little build out, you want to just kind of figure out how do you connect the dots and bring it all together. So let's look at this next one, web gradients. Okay, there was a little adjustment here. Let's go. It's like a little side scroll adjustment. Let's see if you see that? Something is settling after it sets in. Watch, it's going to jerk to the left here. Boom. Not sure what that is. Not sure what's causing that. But that aside, this looks very believable as something like a product. I see that. Okay, nice. I love this call to action here. Okay, I even love that it turns into a different type of call to action that stays there as I go. Nice. That's very, very clean. Web gradients disappears. Okay, I'm not mad at that. This feels like it could be kind of lined and cleaned up. I don't know if this is like a little widget and maybe you don't have styling control over this. But if it's an embed, maybe you can pass some styles through or I don't know, find a way to line these things up. That's the only thing kind of pulling away. Maybe find a way to customize these buttons so they fit. Everything here is like beautiful design. Everything's rounded. The gradients are nice. Everything's subtle. And then these buttons look like they're like dumped in with some HTML embed off like a $2 widget that you're paying for or something like that. There's other ways to do these types of buttons. I would find one that kind of matches your overall aesthetic here or gives you the ability to have design control inside of Webflow. I also see, maybe this is not Squarespace, Webflow because we're advertising Squarespace, or maybe this is just a tool that you've put on here because maybe you're trying to monetize this site. So I'm not 100% sure, but otherwise, the site looks nice. I see another ad kind of in the middle here, very interactive, nice, well done. Yeah, I can't criticize a whole lot here. This is a nice looking website, some nice looking calls to action. I think, again, just tightening up a few things and the attention to those details there. What happens if I click around? Okay. Oh, that's weird. What's it trying to get me to save the file? Okay. Not sure what's happening there. Let's see, sketch, register collection. Okay. Yeah. So there's some other sites here. Nice. It looks like you're headed in the right direction for sure on this one. Appreciate you sharing. Okay, let's see. Let's jump to where is it? Did we already look at this one? We did already look at that one. Okay, let's see. Just got to make sure they don't just look awesome on their own, but also in context. Yeah, that's good feedback. That's good feedback on this site. That may be like showing some use cases of it. Oh, I can click into it. Okay, I like that. That's very nice. I'm interested. Is that all native Webflow interactions? If so, that's very well done. Um, I wonder what the load weight is on that. Maybe it's not that much, but is there something happening there as I scroll? What's happening? Nice. Looks like you're even locking scroll in the background so that I can't like I stay where I am when I open that up. So that's very nice. Okay, can I download it? Get PNG. Okay, nice. All right, well done. I actually like this site. I think you're heading in the right direction. If you're just learning Webflow and you're building something like this, you're doing a great job. Can I actually copy the CSS? Oh, sure can. Okay, yeah, this is some advanced level stuff. If you're just learning Webflow, this is you're well ahead of I was where when I first started. So anyway, okay, let's look at this one here. Samuel Boy White. Okay, portfolio. Samuel Boy White portfolio. Hi, I'm a Webflow engineer. Webflow UI design. Okay, UI designer. All right. Maybe this is too big. Let me go a little smaller here on my screen size. Let's do this. Oof, come on now. Grab the corner. Okay. The reason I checked that was because this feels something feels unbalanced here. This is why I just wanted to check to see different screen sizes, but it does look like it's set up like that. So I see Samuel Bovwhite. I guess that makes sense. The website Bovwhite portfolio. I see that's kind of fixed to the bottom there, or you have some kind of 100 VH section that's taking up the whole bottom here and kind of sticking your name to the bottom. This up here feels like make this bigger. I don't know. Like this, there seems like more could be here. These two things could be connected somehow. This could be bigger. Maybe a face. I could see a face in the background here or something like that with this over on the side if it's going to be small here. It just looks wide open. It looks a little unfinished here. I kind of expect to see more. I like what you're doing here. I see that you bring the image in, but I think you're waiting too long to give me that little taste of your personality here. Lagos based freelance. I like this. I like that there's a little highlight. Lagos based. Um, you could even get rid of A there, just Lagos based freelance designer and web developer. This text is very tough to read here. I see as I get up to the top, it gets a little more readable. So I would think about where that scroll point is. By the time it's halfway, it should be full contrast. Um, and either way, this is a tough font to read on a black background with white text. Uh, Download resume, very open, clear. I don't know that this. Okay, it does fit the call to action I see at the top here, but I would say push this download, push this bigger. And I don't just mean bigger, but from a design standpoint, like work this out, like do something more exciting with this download resume, like suck me in to want to click on that thing, you know? Like that's your poll. You're trying to get like noticed here, download resume, view portfolio, like that's it. Like this right here, boom, screaming portfolio. Why not, I don't know, wrap that in some kind of way so that the download resume, this is pointing at it, and you're really calling attention to like, this is me. Check out my portfolio, download whatever it is. I think that call to action right there should be a little more pronounced. Okay. Same thing here. Stretch this out. Like, okay, two conflicting design things. Look how spread open this is and wide open, and then look how tight and contracted this is. So you're speaking two different languages from a design perspective to me here. This looks, like nice and condensed, but this looks wide open. And so it conflicts with itself. So going back to the consistency. Also, this image here is kind of stretched. So it looks like it's not respecting the original proportions of the image. So check your object fit. Check how you're fitting this image inside of here because it looks like it's squishing it. And again, I think you could do more with these images. Like, why not fill this whole image up and have it take over this whole, like half of this slider or something? Kind of just break up the full page. Right now, I've just got black going into black, going into black, going into white lines. Whereas if this image took up half this page or maybe the full, now I got a break here. And so think about how you can, again, from a visual hierarchy standpoint or from a design standpoint, how you can break things up or how you can kind of build some of that contrast visually. These are the things that keep the experience exciting as you scroll through a website. These are the things that like really help anchor someone into not only the experience but the believability of the story you're telling, right? Like, we don't understand how much good design can help the emotional connection with somebody who's exploring your website to like dig deeper, right? Okay. And this chat is active. I'm trying to keep up with the links here. Let's see what else we got. Same. Okay, just looked at that one. Put my portfolio in, but maybe got lost. Let's check it right here. Boom. Carolyn. All right. Brooklyn-based product designer, art enthusiast, and dog lover. Nice. Very clear. My question here will be this. How does this respond? Okay. Very nice. Let's go. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Let's open it back up. Oh, okay. Let's open this back up here. All right. Okay. So it's a little sticky. Do these? Right. I would maybe you could do like when scrolling to view kind of thing. Give me some kind of delineation that when I highlight this, it's connected to this. Like right now, I don't know how these are connected, you know? So like I like that this colors up, you're losing your desaturation when you hover, but it would also be cool if somehow these colors matched that experience. Um, First, right off the bat, I'm seeing a very brutalist background. This is a very intense visual experience. Maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know how everyone would react to this. For me, I kind of like it. It's a little bold. Um, I might even want to see that same kind of color pattern brought into these lines. I don't know how you're doing this border around this image, and I see it's kind of like okay. I see there's some color changing in the background too, right? There's like a little bit of. Am I making that up? Um, Maybe I'm making that up. But I'd like to see some of this color brought in here. I don't know. There's something about this background that I think could be like, how do you push this a little further? Right? It looks like the beginning of something really cool. I don't think you're doing yourself justice with this image, right? And this may be because you just did a background and you're not sure how to position this image in another way. So you just kind of have it in a container here, is what would be my guess. Um, but I would like to see this image kind of be bigger, overlap some of this. I could see this text kind of like overlapping the image just a bit, also being a little more chunky, a little bigger, a little like fat, on the page here. So it's like Carolyn, like let me see that Brooklyn-based product designer. Boom, like let me read that and make this a little bigger here. Um, my work, I would separate that, right? So right now, I'm not sure if this my work is attached to this section or if it's attached to this bottom section. So I would like put a little bit of separation, in between this header section and really just kind of dive into how can you push this design a little further. I think you're exploring something really nice here. I'd like to see it just pushed a little bit further. Um, yeah. Yeah, same thing here, right? Like, it looks like we're repeating the same image. Flip it, stretch it, find a way to, like, not let this cut off that this goes back to the positioning thing and not just having, like, flat sections and finding ways to make things overlap and learning your positioning, because this would look so much better if this didn't just cut off right here. If this just finished the shape on the left here, and same thing, like, there could just be a little bit more continuity with, again, how these images, like, overlap and how you inject the next one so it looks like it's all one thing rather than like, oh, I'm just going to repeat the image at the bottom here. You know? So otherwise I like the exploration. I like the color scheme here and everything. All right, so let's go. Let's see. Did we look at this one? We did not look at this one. And I don't know how much time we have here. So I'm assuming someone's just going to come, but I'm just going to keep going until somebody comes and stops me. So, all right. Margietown.webflow. Here we go. Nice to see you. I'm Wambui, a product designer on a mission to help businesses create products that are sweet spot for meeting users and business goals. Great. Okay. I like that. It's wide open. I can see a little bit down here. So let's see. Okay. Selected projects, optimize, Shukran, tipping flow. Okay. Nice. Stay tuned for more case stories. All right. Very simple site. Very nice. I like it. Um, One thing I would suggest is I think you could do something really cool with this fade in, fade out interaction that would be a lot more subtle, and leave it kind of almost sticky at the top and let it like slow, like a nice little fade out. Like right now, it looks like it's just you got the background gradient kind of plastered back there, but you could use an interaction to like actually make this fade to black, and I'm happy to show you how to do that. But you could make this an interaction that just fades to black and then have this fade out, have this text like sticky that fades out, or fixed that fades out to black, and that would just look so much more refined. And that's one of the things. Okay, so if you're gonna do like something like this, because this is approach where it's just like, hey, this sentence is all I want you to see on this website. This is very like modern type of thing, but it's also very simple and there's not a lot here. So when you have an experience like this and you give someone that like smooth scrolling gradient and it just feels like beautifully refined, you can get away with a lot more simpler interface because there's more there and it like, oh, this is the experience of scrolling is why we're here, rather than, like maybe having a bunch of content over top. So these are again ways where, like, when you're building sites and you're trying to go out and kind of build value, if you deliver this site to a client, okay, maybe there's one expectation of what a site like that should cost. But if this like fades out real nice and these color shifts, these gradients like shift out and shift in, ooh, now you got me thinking like, ooh, this is spicy, right? And so even just something as simple as like flipping these, right? Putting this feature image on the right so they kind of alternate so it doesn't look just real left heavy. Um, I don't know, that may be something to consider, especially because it's just the only content you have here. Um, Something about these images being almost identical in their structure, just different in image, could fit nicer if they were balanced kind of on opposite sides of each other. Um, so just be careful to make things look too monotonous. If you had 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these, then that would be extra kind of monotonous. And so even though the images are different, because of how they're displayed here, you're kind of creating a little bit of repetition, and sometimes that can hurt the overall kind of just refined feel of the site. Otherwise, I think this aesthetic is great. I think you could probably kind of again push this a little further. How do you refine it and take it to that next level so that the experience just feels like, oh, there's a little bit more here than just a fixed gradient in the background that's scrolling with me. Okay, let's see. Consistent about capitals and lowercase. Okay. Made some big changes. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Trying to read some of these comments here, but mostly just looking for the links. So let me go through. Maybe we've got time for another few more. I have other ones that were, let's see. We already went through that one. Already went through that one. Okay. We can go through some of these. All right. So this looks like an e-commerce site. New smart touch switches. Okay, is that text or is this an image back there? It looks like it's just an image. So it looks like these are just images. I might want to see some text. I might want to like be greeted. You know, most e-commerce sites still have, and you could put this inside of a little box so it floats and doesn't conflict with your image, or some kind of treatment to just show me like, what am I looking at here? Like, is this a smart lock I can buy? Are you trying to sell me smart locks? Are you just trying to teach me about smart locks? Is this where I come to buy parts to build my own smart locks? Like, what is the point of the site here? Um, and what's the goal? Like, what do you want me to do when I first see this? So I see a company logo. I see a drop down. Okay, this looks like maybe you're building out like a little template. Now I see some pricing. So now I can see I can add some stuff to a cart. Um, Add to cart. Okay, but it doesn't add to cart. Um, So I'm not sure if you're using like actual Webflow e-commerce there, or maybe this is still waiting to be rigged up for e-commerce. Um, be careful of having. I see this. I don't know if this is. I may be wrong here, but it looks like these texts are in the image itself. Careful to do that. You could easily, if this needs to be there, you could easily put those in here as like floating elements. Um, There's a couple reasons for accessibility. It also like obviously your alignment's not perfect here, so if you're trying to be centered on these, you want to then be able to control the alignment. So wherever you can, you want to like try to do stuff with code, with Webflow, with divs, with positioning, rather than like trying to fit it in and doing it like in a Photoshop or Figma or whatever other visual canvas you might want in Canva, and bringing labels in and then putting it up there, and then again, remembering to respect the proportion of your image. Nothing kind of diminishes value from a website than like poorly constricted images. And so I don't know if you're using fit or scale or object fit or whatever, but you might want to just make sure that the images don't get squished like that vertically or horizontally. Um, Another key thing I see here on this site is kind of the depth of these. This is a boop, it's like an anomaly. I'm not sure what's causing that. Um, but that's a flex box thing that you can fix probably pretty easily based on how this is built. Again, I don't know. And it's one thing to criticize these from the outside, and it's the other thing to criticize them from the inside when you can see kind of the structure. So that's one thing obviously we're not looking at. We could easily have spent the exact same amount of time diving into the, Webflow structure of all of these things. Um, and then had a real field day with with the naming conventions and stuff like that. um Okay, so this looks like a basic site here, posted on February 7th. So maybe you're trying to, okay, so you're learning. This looks like a CMS template. Aline Orlando, learning Webflow with ADPList. Nice. Okay, so this looks like a little author card on what would be like maybe a blog article. So it looks like the beginning of what might become a blog. So you got a hero section, you got a little rich text section that looks like it's been styled a little bit. Okay, yeah, looks like it's the beginnings of something. It could be quite a bit more. I'd like to see what the homepage is. Let's see. I know how to do this. Boom. Okay. All right. Maybe I'm not supposed to be seeing this one. All right. So yeah, mixed experiences here. Again, colors, color consistency, buttons, but that wasn't the link provided, so we won't bring that one up. Let's see. More. Is anything coming in voluntarily, or we will look at there's more here. Okay. Let's see. I was wondering if my eyes were a little off. Yeah, the images are a little off, correct. That's what community is all about. I would like to keep in touch with everyone here. Yeah, check me out on Twitter. If anyone's interested, please check out. If I critiqued your site and you want like more feedback, you want direct feedback. If I told you to push an idea or a design further and you're like, what does that actually mean? And you want to connect, like reach out on Twitter. I'm happy to spend some time like diving in. If we didn't get to look at your site and you want feedback, like if you didn't want it here publicly and you want like reach out. I'm happy to look at that stuff. Um, Site is for illustrative purposes only. The articles are not mine and sources are stated. Okay, nice. So you got like a little scrolling thing. In the know, the logo seems a little small, just FYI. Okay, everything's kind of constrained to a column here. Technology, read more. What happens if I click read more? Brings me to an article. Nice. Okay. I think about styling my rich text a little bit. Take some cues from something like Medium or like a New York Times or Wall Street Journal or some top like media company, some nice modern interface here. Um, let's see. This is okay. Nice. So I'm getting a 2-minute reminder here. Okay, let's take a look. I got a link. Oh yeah. Okay. We're taking a look at like a site to maybe actually like this is I remember this, a dinosaur is going to come out and eat this. This is like a world class, like just beautiful, you know, beautiful but simple. Um, so come in, great design, no nonsense. Boom. This is a very clean. Yeah, this is like, if you want to see what to do right, this is one to look at. I'll share this in the chat too. Feel free. Any questions? We're kind of winding down here. I think we're done with time. Feel free to leave any comments in the chat. Again, I'm happy to connect. And oh, thanks, Eric. I appreciate you sharing my Twitter profile there. Yeah, honestly, anyone, feel free to reach out. I'll kill the screen share here. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to continue the conversation moving forward in any way you want to help you all. We also have the Global Open House coming up March 21st. I would love to see some of you all there. It's the biggest Webflow community organized Webflow meetup of the year. So if you go to, maybe I'll share my screen again. Let's just do that. I'll take the last 1 minute to kind of do an advertisement for myself. If you go to stateofflow.io, stateofflow.io, we have a dashboard that's just a bunch of stuff that's going on in the Webflow community. On the right here, it's all the events coming up. So if you want to get involved in the community, if you've got events that you're looking at, like get involved here. And then if you go to State of Flow Open House, you can sign up for updates about that. I'll share the link in the chat here. This again is going to be a cool meetup. This is a great way to come and learn, connect with the community. Yeah, I don't know. I'll leave it at that. I see Utkarsh is back. I'm going to relinquish the reins. I hear the church bells ringing outside my house, which means it must be the top of the hour.
Okay, thanks a lot, Raymmar. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining in today. I'm sure everyone loved the session. And again, please make a note of it. Although we might have critiqued your website, but it was all meant for learning. Please don't get disheartened or don't take it personally. And as Raymmar said, feel free to reach out to him on socials, and he'll be there to help you out further in terms of polishing it out. And then see you further on Friday in the next teardown session, and we'll have Grace with us taking up another teardown session before we head up to the demo day on Feb 17th. In case if you have
Nice.
not yet started with your case submission, do start it out because the submission deadline is on 13th of Feb. Thanks a lot, everyone, and see you soon on Friday.
Great. Awesome. Bye, everyone.